This is an interview with Fred Pomerantz, founder of Leslie Fay Incorporated, and one of the great industry leaders. The interview will be taking place in Mr. Pomerantz's office at 1400 Broadway. The interviewer is Mildred Finger. The date of this interview is Thursday, October 29th, 1981. It is the first of what will be a series of interviews. Now, I'd really like you to start all the way back, as far back as you... I know you talked about when you were 11 years old. So
10 and a half.
Okay, 10 and a half. So start there.
I stopped eating so I can...
Well, unless you want to wait. You want to wait till you finish eating?
No, I got enough. I thought I'd get some for you.
Thank you.
I'll start off with, in our family, all of my brothers started to work when they were 10 years old.
How many brothers?
4, including myself, 3, and myself is 4. My other brothers were fortunate that they weren't in our business, and they went to grammar school, grammar high school, grammar high school, and grammar college. See, I went into the ready-to-wear business, and at that time, you worked from 7 in the morning to 11 o'clock at night, including Saturday and Sunday.
And you were 10 and a half?
I was 10, I was 10, just about 10 and a half. I got this job with M.B. Kaufman. M.B. Kaufman was a coat and suit business. It was a Mr. and Mrs. Kaufman that I worked for. And it seems that I used to be a swimmer. I used to love to swim. And I had my hair cut, very, I forget what they call it now, but I had no hair. It's
like a crew cut?
Yeah, like worse than a crew cut. It's like when you come out of an orphan home, you wear that, they give you that kind of haircuts, in those years. And I'm talking about 70 years ago. So I got this job, and they loved me. They thought I was an orphan, and they gave me a job. And everything that they had to do home, I had to do it home during the slow season. I did everything. Now I started to work in a production department, and I became, I made the patterns. I made everything. I started off when I was 14 and a half years old. I was a very good pattern maker. I used to sew on a machine and make a garment on the machine. I knew I was good. I thought I was as good as my boss. Now, I was getting $2.50 a week. And when I was 14 and a half years old, my boss was fired. And when he was fired, I went to the big boss, to Mr. Kaufman, and I said, I'd like to get Mr. Beck's job. He says, look, Mrs. Kaufman loves you, I love you, we're going to double your salary, you stay where you are, we're very happy with you.
That was doubling to $5 an hour?
Yeah.
A week?
Yeah. And he probably didn't know that I was getting 2.5 or 1.5, So I said, I didn't ask you for a raise. I asked you for Mr. Beck's job. He says, you can't handle Mr. and very steamed at me. You can't handle Mr. Beck's job. I said, who told you I can't handle Mr. Beck's job? I can handle it. So he fires me for insubordination. I went into the bookkeeper and got my pay, and I I'm leaving, and I'm waiting for the elevator to come up, when who walks out? Mrs. Kaufman. She was the big boss. So I said, Mrs. Kaufman, it was very lovely working here. I enjoyed it, and I learned an awful lot, and I think I owe it all to you, what I learned. And she says, what are you talking about? So I said, I was fired. She says, what for? I said, insubordination. And I swear that I didn't know what insubordination meant. I swear, this is no kidding. On my word, I didn't know what insubordination meant. But that's what I was fired for, insubordination. So she says, what did you do? I says, I wanted Mr. Beck's job. I'll never forget this as long as I live. I can't remember what happened yesterday, but I can remember what happened years ago. She puts her fingers to my eyes and says, you want Mr. Beck's job? I says, yes. What do you got to lose if I get Mr. Beck's job? If I'm no good, I'll go right back to my old job. If you hire somebody else, you can't fire them right away if they're no good. Me, you can fire. I'll go back, and all you got to do is come back and tell me I'm not doing the job right. And I'll go right back to my old job. So she says, you little son of a bitch. And she spoke like a man. I think you're right. Come on back. So I go back, and she goes into Mr. Kaufman's office. She comes back and says, go inside and apologize to him. I said, apologize for what? She says, you get your ass in there and apologize, or I'll knock it off. And that's exactly the way she spoke. I'm giving you my word of honor. I'm quoting her exactly. So I go inside and I says, Mr. Kaufman, I want to apologize for anything I said or did to hurt your feelings. And I would really like to try Mr. Beck's job. I'm telling you, I won't make no mistake. So he said, okay, you got it. And I wasn't as good as Mr. Beck's job, but I was much better. I want to tell you, they treated me like I was king. They were very, very wealthy people, extremely wealthy. And when I was 17, they made a trip around the world, and at that time it took them a year. And I was in charge of the company. The only thing I couldn't be in charge of was the selling, because I was embarrassed. Because in those days, the pattern maker spoke Jewish, the sample maker spoke Jewish, everybody spoke Jewish, and all the production people spoke Jewish.
Did you speak it with them?
Yes.
You spoke, but you also spoke English.
Yeah, but we spoke Jewish, and I had to speak Jewish to all of them. So my language is these, those, and thems, you know? So I couldn't go in a showroom, so I had a man that was in charge of the showroom, but he reported it to me. You know, and I want him to sell something, he had to sell what I want him to sell.
Where was the showroom in those days?
32nd Street, 32nd Street, 6 West 32nd Street. And the World of Astoria was right across the street. So
it was a pretty elegant area.
Yeah. It was a new building when they moved in. We were downtown before that. But when I was 17 and a half, I ran the whole business. They used to, at that time, the Winter Garden used to be the big thing. And I used to sit up front, and they couldn't get my seats. They said, where do you get your seats? I said, I go and get them. When I want something, I got it. It's just like I wanted the job. I got it. You know? I said, I don't take no for an answer. And I got them. If you want me to get you tickets, I'll get you tickets. Every Sunday night, it was a big night in Winter Garden. And They used to make trips like in a. Now they also had horses. So I used to have, yeah. I used to take care of their horses. And when I was 10 years old, and I learned how to ride horses. And I was a professional horseback rider. I used to steeplechase. Let me show you a picture of myself riding a horse. Come here, you want to see it?
Sure.
This is when I was old.
Handsome young man.
That's me riding a horse.
So I've now seen a picture of you riding a horse.
Yeah. Now, when I was 19 and a half years old, my brother got a job after he graduated college. My brother got a job in our business, and he was a salesman. He was a salesman.
Was he Michael?
Yeah, he was a salesman. Well, I was the production man. I never would go into the showroom. I never had the nerve to go into a showroom. See? So he was the production man, and I was the production man. He was a salesman, and we went into business under the name of Pomerantz Brothers.
Wait, excuse me just a moment. You had, at that point, you had left the Kaufmans? You had left that job?
And they went out of business. They retired.
I see.
They were very, extremely wealthy, and they lived in California. My son had a bar mitzvah, and I brought him to California to meet Mr. and Mrs. Kaufman.
Your son John?
Yeah.
So they lived a pretty
Los
long
Angeles.
time after they had retired.
Yeah.
I see.
They lived there all the time.
Right. I didn't mean to interrupt you about Michael, but you went into business with Michael as the Pomerantz brothers.
Yeah.
Right, okay. How old were you then?
Hmm?
How old were you then?
I was 19 and a half. So my brother Mike used to bring in the things, the garments that he wanted me to knock off.
Mm-hmm.
And I used to make the patterns and make it.
Right.
Now, every once in a while, I made my own design, my own style, that I thought was good. And I'd show it to my brother, and he always wanted to be the big shot, So I showed it to my brother, and he said, "You like it?" I said, "Yes, it's terrific. You'll sell a lot of them." He said, "Well, you go out and sell them. I don't think it's anything." And I must have made 15 samples by this time. He kept on saying, "You sell it." Now, at that time, there were 2 or 3 or 4 different furs. Squirrel was what they call mink today. A squirrel, there was no mink at that time that I remember. But squirrel was the big, expensive fur. And beaver was the expensive fur. See, we used to have dogs and cats for our coats, And that's the furs we had.
You used to have fur, you used to have dogs and cats?
Yeah, dog fur.
Really?
To make furs out of the dogs. And it
Did you
used
make
to be
wool coats with these as trim?
wool coats with short collars and cuffs. Every coat had a short collar and cuff. One time I happened to go around looking for furs that I can buy a little cheaper, different kinds. And there was a building on 13th Street and 6th Avenue that was an apartment house. And in every apartment, the mother, the father, the children worked on the machines and cutting, and they made making furs. I went there to see if I can buy some cheaper dogs or cats. I forget what, they didn't call them dogs or cats. They call it mufflon. They call it
How do you spell mufflon, do you know?
Mufflon. I think that's how you spell it. And they called the cats, I forget what the hell they called it. They didn't call it cats. To make the long story short, I walk into a place that's making baby carriage covers out of squirrel paws. You know? So I said, Jesus, a squirrel. And the price it was, I could make them for, instead of putting the dogs and the cats. So I take my patterns and I tell them to make me patterns. I stayed there until they cut it, and they put wadding underneath it to bring the fur up. And I bring them back, and I take 6 coats and I put them on the coats. Now I said to my brother, you can go out and sell these coats for $60 and $75, and we'll make a lot of money on them. He says, I should go out and sell this here? I wouldn't sell it if you want me to sell it for $10.75. What the hell what do you think I am? What, are you telling me what to do? Are you a designer? And I get bawled out. He says, you like it, you go and sell it. So I says, okay, you son of a bitch, I'm going to go out and sell it. But I give you my word of honor, I got so drunk that night.
Before?
Yeah, that I have to go and sell it. I'm going to go out and sell them. Oh, I had a brother that was a CPA, and he worked for the Board of Health. So I asked him to come up. He came up in the evening when he got through early, 4 o'clock or something. And I'm showing him what he has to do. We had a factory, what to give the factory, what work to give the factory, and this and that. So he did it, and I went out. And I said, I'll call you up every half hour or so, ask you what you did and what else to do. So I go up I look at the New York Times, and I get the arrival of buyers, and I see everybody that's in town was in Bennett Levis, 1225 Broadway. 1225 Broadway, you know where it is? It's between 30th Street and 6th Avenue and Broadway.
Do you know how to spell the name that you told me?
Bennett Levis, Levis.
Okay.
That was the resident buying office.
Right.
And I get off the elevator, and I figured if I'm going to sit there, stand and wait for my next, I'll have to come back the next day. You know, because there were so many salesmen there. The lobby was full of salesmen. I had a reputation of having to fight with some tough guys that worked for the unions, see? And I clipped a couple of them. And they promised to kill me. But when they notice that you're not afraid of them, they're afraid of you. See?
But that was later on.
Yeah. No, that was when I was in business with my brother.
Oh, really?
Yeah. You see, I'll tell you how I became a tough guy. It's not in my business, but I became a tough guy. We used to work for 3 months in the coat business. 3 months we worked from 11 to 7. 7 in the morning until 11 o'clock at night. And for 3 months we did nothing. We did nothing. The only one I worked is to make the guys making new styles, you know what I mean? And
yeah.
The pattern makers and the production. But it didn't mean anything because you had to wait for the goods. You had to order the goods 3 months in advance, and we didn't do anything. See, so why am I telling you that? I was just trying to.
We were talking about the resident buying office.
So, no, let me tell you, this is as long as I'm going to tell you about my life. When I was 15 and a half years old, I went to see what they were showing in Abraham and Strauss. And as I walk in, this is when President Wilson called for volunteers. The first day he called for volunteers. And they said, if you got cold feet, join the Army, we'll give you woolen socks, you know? So I decided I'm going to join the Army. I was 15 and a half, 16, I don't remember. So I forged my age to 18, and I forged my father's signature.
Oh.
And I joined the Army. Now,
you were still working for the Kaufmans then?
Yeah, I was working for the Kaufmans, but I figured I wasn't going to work anymore because I joined the Army. And they were looking for someone else to take the job, and they got someone else. Now, I went to the Army. After I got my father's signature and the notary public signed it, you know, I went there and they sent me to Bedford Avenue Armory, and they gave me a uniform, and I stayed there for about a week, and they taught you how to take the gun apart and put the gun together, and they taught you how to put the bullets in, and it was just a lot of waste of time standing there. Now they send me to Cold Springs, New York. They were guarding the aqueduct, so Germans shouldn't put poison in the water that comes to New York, see? And there was a lot of soldiers up there. So I get up there, and they put me on a dog watch, the 12 to 4.
Oh, right.
12 midnight to 4 in the morning. It's 4 on and 8 off, see? So I get into the, I go up there, I'm going to go out on duty, and they said to me, you better be careful. There was a lot of soldiers were killed, eaten up by these animals up there, these wild dogs, and wild this and wild that, you know. And he says, a gang of people, and they had 12 on their leggings. At that time, in the First World War, we had leggings, you know. We wore leggings. So I go up on the guard duty, and I want to tell you something. There was never a more nervous wreck than I was, because I heard noises and I want to shoot, and I don't know how to shoot the gun, you know, and I'm a nervous wreck. When I come down, they says, well, what happened? You're still alive. You're lucky, you know. The dirty dozen. There was more than 12, but these were the tough guys. I was the only Jew in my regiment, in my company. See? So, when I come, we lived in tents, 8 in a tent. See? So, get into my tent, and I get undressed. When the dirty doesn't get a hold of me, and they throw me into the latrine. You know what a latrine is?
Yes, I do.
They throw me into a latrine. The latrine is over 10 foot deep. And I couldn't get up, and it took me a long time to get up. Now, I get up, and instead of me going to the water stream to wash, I didn't want them to see me because they were around, and I sneaked into my tent. So when I sneaked into my tent, they said to me, Get out of here, you stink. You all stink. Come on, get out. The fellows that are living there, you know, sleeping there with me. And they start to make noise, so the lady doesn't hurt it, and they grabbed a hold of me, and they took me to the waterfalls. And at that time, we didn't have automobile trucks. We had 4 horses or 6 horses or 8 horses pulling a truck, you know? So they had wire brushes for the horses. So they take me to the water stream, and they wash me with the wire brushes. I wind up in the hospital.
Not bad.
So my other brother, my brother Joe, comes to visit me when he found out I was in the hospital. And he says, I'm going to get you out of the Army. I says, no, you're not. If you get me out, I'll go to another city and I'll join it again. I'll join it again. I'll forge my name in a different name. I'm a citizen and I want to be I'm an American and I want to be an American. Something like that. I'm not quoting the exact words.
Sure.
I can't remember. But now we're breaking up camp. See? And when they broke up camp at that time, I got back into the Army about a day after I'm out of the hospital. They're breaking up. So they put up a ring, see, like a prize fighter's ring. And they don't want you to shoot your soldiers, you know what I mean, each other. So if I got something against you, I call you into the ring and you got to come in. And we fight. And at the count of 5, if you're down, count to 5, the fight is over. See? So all of a sudden, I meet a Sergeant Fisher. I didn't meet him. He came looking for me. He was on an outpost. He was a Jew. But he was, if you ever saw an Army picture with the tough sergeants, they all copied him because he was a career sergeant. See? He was in the Army a long time. And he says to me, do you know the guys that did it? I says, yeah, they wear 12 on their leggings. He says, well, I want you to call them into the ring. I said, I will not. Again, I'm going to get killed? They'll kill me. He says, well, I'm telling you, I want you to call them into the ring. Now, if you don't call them into the ring, I'm going to go in the ring and call you.
Huh.
And I wouldn't let you fall. You know, because if you fall, the count of 5, the fight is
finished,
over.
yeah.
He says, you won't have a belly left because I'll hold you up. And he was a tall guy, too, you know, and a powerful guy. And he was really the toughest sergeant I used to see these sergeants and always thought of him. So I figured, well, I'll go call a guy in, I'll get hit and I'll fall, you know. So instead I call a guy in, he comes in, I clip him, and he falls. So the sergeant was right. I call another guy in. So he falls. I knocked 8 guys out, and the other ones disappeared. See, there are no more with the 12. So when I walk out of the ring, everyone comes over to shake my hand. They all like me now. Before they hated me, now they like me, you know? And the sergeant says, I told you that when guys are tough when they got a gang, but when they're alone, they're not tough. They're sissies. And he taught me that, see? Now we get transferred, we're moving when they broke up camp to Yonkers, if you look up the history, the Yonkers, they have a park. I forget the name of the park. And they had soldiers from all over the United States that they sent to Europe, see? And you got to do guard duty. After I was in the fight, I didn't do guard duty once. I just said, hey, do my guard duty. Everybody in my company, every soldier, was afraid of me. I was the toughest guy in my company. I say, hey, do my guard duty. Okay, Pomerantz. And I do my guard duty. I never did guard duty after that.
You really learned a lesson that you used in your later life, didn't you?
You see? So I was a tough guy.
Yeah, right.
So
Back to the resident buying office.
no.
No? Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah.
So we break up camp and we go to this place in Yonkers, and I just can't remember the name. And then after you're there, they send you to Pier 4, Hoboken, New Jersey, and you go on a train, on a boat to Europe. I'm at Pier 4, Hoboken, New Jersey. Fred Pomerantz, 4 steps forward. I say, what the hell did I do now? Maybe they're hoisting me because I didn't do guard duty. The other guy's doing the guard duty. So he says, right, turn, forward, march. And I forward march, and the guy sitting at the desk, you Pomerantz? Yeah. And he gives me my discharge papers. Dishonorable discharge papers.
Dishonorable? Why?
Because I forged. You see, my brother, when he came up to see me, his boss was very friendly with Senator Caldor at that time, a senator, and they got me out of the Army.
Because you were too young, too, I suppose.
Yeah. So I went back to work for M.B. Kaufman, you know. So, well, then everyone knew that the unions had tough guys, and if you paid them, you didn't have to become a union guy. If you didn't pay them, you had to become a union guy. You know? So everybody knew that they came up to see me, and I kicked hell out of them.
Was this when you were in business with your brother?
Yeah, no. And this is here, look, I'll show you. I got stabbed by the union.
Good heavens, you were stabbed by somebody from the union?
From, the tough guys.
By one of the tough guys. Isn't that interesting?
That was Lepke, Curly, and Garrar at that time.
Lepke?
Lepke, Curly, and Garrar.
Lepke, Curly, and Garrar. Okay.
Well, now when I went up to and I threw the garments over the rack.
No, but you said that you got to the resident buying office and there were a lot of people there.
Yeah.
And you knew you'd be there for a whole day if you waited.
Yeah, so I took the garments out of the bag, took the hangers off, and I flung them over the petition because there were I don't care what office you walked into, any lawyer's office or the richest man's office in the world, you saw a 6-foot petition. And if it's a very wealthy office, they had mahogany walls with glass, with drapes. That was the nice ones. Otherwise, I'll show you downstairs. We still got the old ones downstairs. So
that were just 6 foot high, but had nothing on top.
Yeah, I'll show you what it had. We got them downstairs. So I flung him over the petition, and I hollered.
All 6 coats?
Yeah. 1675, see if you can beat it. And this buyer comes out, who's the wise guy? I said, me. He says, are you Freddie Pomerantz? I says, yes. And he ran and he was afraid of me. He was afraid of me. Then another guy comes in and he says.
Was he a buyer or
he
a
was
customer?
the buyer.
He was the buyer.
Now another man comes down and says, who's the gentleman that did that? I says, I did. I figured this is another fight. So he calls me in, and he says, I can't remember the words he said, but he didn't say, I like your nerve, but that's what he meant, I like a man that's a go-getter, And he says, I remember the end, you're a go-getter. But I forget the words that he used. They were too high class for me to remember. So he bought every style. I showed him, and he had about 30 stores. Now, if he bought, everybody else in the office bought. And I figured by this time, my brother Mike got the telephone call that I threw the garments over and everything I did, But every stop I made, I did the same thing. So I called my brother up every half hour to tell him what to do. So he said, "Did you get an order?" I said, "No, not yet." He said, "Come on back. Freddie, you're the best production man. Your brother Mike is the best salesman. You're doing well in business. What the hell do you want to be a salesman for?"
This is your brother, the accountant. What
Yeah.
was his name?
Sal.
Sal.
So, to make the long story short, I says, I'm not coming back until I get an order. And every place I went to, so I went to one place, and they thought that I'm a tough guy, that I'm buying stolen furs. So he said, "How about beavers?" I said, "I'll have them next week." See, I sold more garments that day than my brother did in 4 weeks.
But you said a minute ago that you didn't have any orders, but you did have orders.
Yeah, I was getting orders from everybody. I told my brother Sal that I didn't have an order.
Okay, all right.
See?
But you really did.
I did have the orders, but I didn't want to tell Mike. See? So I came back at 6 o'clock. At that time, we didn't have a showroom like you got today. The only ones that had showrooms were jobbers on 34th Street. We used to do business with them. They had big showrooms. But outside of that, it was all office work, you know? You sold them in the
I
office.
see.
So we got all the orders in the bottom of the bag, you know, that I took. And the boy hangs the bag up. We had one table right near the shipping department for a buyer to come in. The New York buyers used to come in, none of the out-of-town buyers. So
You mean the New York store buyers and
no, not New York store buyers, but the New York office buyers.
office buyers?
To make the long story short, I sit down with my brother and he's bawling me out. He says, "Well, when I tell you it's no good, you'll remember it's no good from now on. You leave me alone and stop making styles that are no good." And he's bawling me out, and I'm taking it. And then I called the boy over, and I says, "What do you leave those coats in the bag for? You got six bags, 6 coats in a tight bag. I'll have to press them tomorrow if you don't hang them up. Hang them up." So he hangs them up. I said, "What do you got in there, dirt? What are you, crazy?" And I said, "Empty that there. What do you want to see what you got in there?" So he empties all the orders. I thought my brother would faint.
I wouldn't blame if he did.
I thought he would faint. And I was just talking to my sister. She was here before you came in. And I take responsibility for my brother's death.
I didn't know you had a sister. This is your own sister or a sister-in-law?
My sister.
You had a sister as well as
we
your
had
brothers.
4 sisters and 4 brothers.
Ah,
We were 10 in the family, but 2 I never met.
I see.
They died before I was born. See, they were 8.
So your sister was here earlier.
Yeah, the one that you saw walk out of here, didn't you?
I didn't know. No, I don't think so.
So, to make the long story short, I started to be fresh with my brother. My brother starts keeping company. He's going out with a girl. So they go to cocktail parties every night. And we used to wait from 7 in the morning to 11 o'clock at night. You know? So I says, "What the hell are you running out of here at 6 o'clock? So one day he comes in and he says to me, "I'm sick and tired of you telling me what to do and what not to do. I'll tell you what, I'll buy you out. And you'll be the same partner, but I'll be the boss. I'll give you the money that we got, 50%. But you'll be the same partner, but you'll do what you're doing and I'll do what I'm doing. And you won't, when I say something, it's going to be law. You're not going to scream at me and holler at me the way you do." So he says, "I'm giving you until this time to think it over." So that's when I took the picture when on the one on the horse. We went to Lakewood at that time. Everybody used to go to Lakewood. And I'm going to Lakewood, and he says to me, I told you what time I want you to give me the notice. What you going to do? So I take the keys out of my pocket, and I fling it at him. And I hit him in the face with it, and I says, it's your place. I'm not coming back anymore.
So that was the end of Pomerantz Brothers?
Yeah.
How old were you then?
I was about 21, 22.
So then what did you do?
Then when the 3 months went by, I got $65,000 a month. I had an account in Gimbel Brothers. Gimbel Brothers had a bank on the mezzanine floor. I used to go in there because it took longer for a check to clear. See? So now it's time for me to go into business, and I'm $19 overdrawn.
Oh, God.
So there was a new building. There was an old building on 7th Avenue, 469 7th Avenue. It's on 36th Street,
Yeah, right.
37th
Yeah.
Street, and 7th Avenue.
Yeah, right.
It used to be a furniture building, see? Only furniture people. They all moved out, and they moved to Park Avenue and to Madison
Right,
Avenue.
yeah.
So this guy owns a building, and he's trying to make a ready-to-wear building out of it. So I go up and I rent the floor. So he asked me for the check. I says, I can't give you a check because I'm having a problem in Washington. They won't okay my name. As soon as they okay the name, I'll give you a check. I'll make a deposit in the company and they give you a check. So he said, well, give me a personal check. I said, I won't give you a personal check. Why should I give you a personal check? I want to give you the company's check. So he says, okay. He needed tenants, and he gave me February 1st to live rent-free for close to a year.
My goodness. That was a pretty good deal.
Now I have to build racks, so the guys want money, and when I get the money for the, when the Washington okays my name, I'll give you a check. I used that excuse with everybody, and I got away with it. Now I had people, so I says, if you want to work for me, you got to work for me. I'll give you, I hold back 4 weeks' salary. Because there was a lot of people out of work at that time.
This is what, 1920 or something?
In the 20s,
Yeah.
early. That's when the Bank of the United States
Right, yeah, right.
broke.
Yeah.
So he says to me, I said, nobody can work for me unless they give me 4 weeks' notice. 4 weeks, I got to hold back 4 weeks' pay. So I get an order, or I go out to buy piece goods. So they'll say, how's about your statement? I said, as soon as I get the okay from Washington, you'll get the statement. You know how much money I got out. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to show. Okay, they all took my word for it. They all knew me. Because I used to buy the piece goods, see? So,
What was the name of that business? Did you have a name for it?
it's Fred Pomerantz. Very tough name to have.
Just Fred Pomerantz,
Yeah.
Inc.
Yeah, just a tough name to have incorporated, you know. Couldn't get an okay in Washington.
There might be another Fred Pomerantz in the world.
So to make the long story short, I got an order from a jobber on 34th Street. I shipped him the goods. And at that time, if you wanted cash, 1% cash. So 1%, I got the cash. I deposit the money in the bank at about $72,000 that I got. I don't remember exactly, 72 or 70. and a deposit in the Gimbel's bank. Now I go to all the banks, and I want them. I don't want to come around and borrow money. When I need it, you're liable to say you don't want to give it to me. You want my account, you got to give it to me now. I want to borrow $75,000, and I'll give you the interest. I'll leave the balance there. Over half a dozen banks turned me down, but one bank didn't. So that day, I got back, and I made out the checks to everybody that worked for me, for the factory, for the racks, for the shipping. Everybody got paid, see, because I had a balance in the bank.
Had you shipped any clothes at this point?
Yeah, at that time I shipped one order.
One order. Just
so
one order.
So I had the money.
With your 1% for cash.
I had the money. So I made a lot of money that first season. Now my brother used to knock me off and make them for cheaper. You know?
But now, let me make sure I understand something. Were you making dresses by now?
No,
you were
coats.
still making coats.
Making coats.
So that was why when you said your brother would knock you off for cheaper, he was knocking off coats.
He was making coats.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
There were no dresses at that time.
I see. Okay.
You see, you know what there were? There were skirts and blouses.
Yeah, shirts, yeah.
And evening dresses and wedding gowns. There was no dresses. I didn't know of any dress house. Now, about 1926, there was on the radio, there was a check and double check. And I got Prince check and double check. On radio.
And that became a print?
No, well, we made a print and we called it check and double check.
All right, okay.
See? So I went out. I decided to try the dress business during the slow season.
Yeah.
For the 3 months that we had a slow season. So I decided to be a big shot, and I hired a production man. See? This man worked out of town. He was supposed to have a terrific reputation. So I hired him. Wherever I went with the dresses, I sold them. Every place I went to, they bought them. To make a long story short, I started to ship, and I'll never forget, I shipped to Montgomery Ward, the first order. So they called me up, the dresses don't fit. I put them on a figure and they don't fit. I put them on girls, they don't fit. So I have to take them back. So now I get back, there's another call. Dresses don't fit. So I tell them to return them. I go to the factories, which that time were contractors, and I took in a ½ inch and I left out a ½ inch, and I made the dress fit because I was a pattern maker, you know? And I started to ship.
What happened to the production man that you'd had?
He went to the hospital when I came back.
Oh, really?
I nearly killed him.
Really?
Nearly killed him. They took him to the hospital. If I'm telling you the truth, I hope I never lived a happy day the rest of my life. I shouldn't have one good day, including my family.
How much were the dresses in those? I mean, that you got back? What was their price?
Very expensive, $475.
But if you have enough $475 dresses, it could be a lot of money.
Yeah. But everybody else was getting $465, less 10. I was getting $475, less 8. See? To make the long story short, I'm ready to go out of the dress business because I started getting telephone calls, and I figured they won't return them. I'll go broke, you know? I wouldn't accept no more calls. So To make the long story short, I go to Brooklyn, Martin's, and there's a Jew boy with a Jewish accent. He was the buyer, so he knew me very well. So I go there and I said, I'm trying to sell my dresses that I have. I'm selling out my dresses. I'm going back in the coat business. He says, Freddie, you're going back in the coat business? You're the best dressed man. You got nothing but clickers.
Oh, God.
Why do you want to go back in the dress business? You got clickers. You crazy? He says, send me 100 of a number.
A clicker is a Ford, I take it.
No, a clicker is a good number.
A Ford.
A good number, not a Ford.
A Ford is...
A Ford is a good style. No, this was, at that time, a clicker
Okay.
was a good number. So I went and I started to call all the people back that's been calling me.
That you thought wanted to return dresses.
And because I fixed all the dresses, you know? I only shipped them to 2 or 3 people. But I figured I didn't do a good enough job on dresses because I was a pattern maker for coats. Maybe I did it wrong, or maybe I did it right. To make the long story short, everybody I called gave me a reorder. And if not for that guy in Brooklyn, I would have been back in the coat business, probably broke.
Okay, is that funny? That's marvelous. So you stayed with that business, with Fred Pomerantz, Inc. But until when?
Hmm?
When did you stop that business?
No, that business went on, and a friend of mine lost his job. He was supposed to be a production man in the dress business. So we called the company. I gave him a piece of the company, which I was working too hard. I wanted to be, a big shot. Right. I can go to Florida and live,
Mm-hmm.
So his name was Silver Clyde. So I was going to Palm Silver. It didn't sound right. So I called it Silver Palm.
Silver Palm.
Palm.
That became the name of the company. P-O-M-M, is that how you spelled it? No?
SILVER-POM.
P-O-M, okay. Okay. All right. Okay. And you stayed with that business until you were 31, if I remember.
We made a lot of money.
Mm-hmm.
Made an awful lot of money. Now, there were 2 shirt makers in the 30s, George P. Hyde and Arrow.
Mm-hmm.
George P. Hyde went broke.
I'm sorry, do you know how to spell P-I-D?
P-I-D, George P. Hyde, I-D.
Okay, sorry. Okay.
And they went broke, and there was a factory for sale. I went up to look at this factory. I'll tell you in a little while where it was, I forgot. And I want to tell you something. It had a hospital in it. A regular hospital where a doctor can come in and operate on.
Mm-hmm.
It was 2 square blocks long,
Yeah, right. So it was big.
Yeah,
It was
a
really
big
big.
factory.
I was just looking to see if in my notes, I don't think I know anything about this story. I don't think there's anything in my notes about it.
What store?
Well, I took notes on the clothes magazine story and so on, but I don't know anything about this particular...
Well, I'm giving you the beginning to the
Oh,
end.
sure, I know. I was just trying to help you out. I thought maybe the name of the plant was in here, but it isn't. That's not Lincoln's Town. There was a place something like that.
Call a factory and see if Irving Shenandoah is there. Mechanicsville, never mind.
Mechanicsville. Mechanicsville, I just found it here too. Okay.
Mechanicsville, New York.
Right. Okay, I just found it.
I was 1933 or 34.
And according to my notes, it was unionized in 32.
No way, I tell you.
No?
Never unionized. Oh, I wanted to become union because at that time I was union. And but there was a joint board in New York. The out-of-town people that had factories out of town, not New York people, but let's say some company that's got their office and shipping department and their factories out of New York.
Mm-hmm.
They had a different labor setup. They didn't belong to the joint board. They belonged to the International Lady Garment Workers.
Right.
I belonged to the joint board. You understand?
Mm-hmm.
So I said, I don't mind belonging to the joint board with the New York factories. But what the hell do I have to ship my dresses to Mechanicsville, New York, all the way up there, pay express charges to come back here, ship them here. I had to be up there, I had to be here. I says, I wouldn't become joint board. You want to make me an international dress? Okay. Well, he says, if you don't join the union, you'll have a strike. I said, the day I'll have a strike is the day I'll be out of the dress business. I come on a Friday. We used to have breakfast at Shafts here. I come out of breakfast, there was a bunch of guys, and I see a bunch of pickets on Silver Palm. I go upstairs and I fire everybody. I had a lot of money. We were worth a lot of money. And I fire everybody. And we had a small business, a half-size business. We made a lot of money and showed a big profit all the time. Because there weren't very many people in the half-size business. There was a racket. So I gave that to my brother. He paid me off. The brother Mike, that we were fighting all the
right.
time. So I moved to California.
Did you have a lot of money with you when you went?
I was worth about $3 million. I moved to California, and I want to go in the real estate business. The guy talks me out. I knew a lot of people in California because we used to have a business there, a whole floor full of our dresses. The California people didn't come to New York, so they used to go in to the stock house, buy the dresses, and pay 15 cents more for the freight. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
We're making $4.75. They paid us $4.90. So I couldn't open a dress factory because if I opened a dress factory there, the union would make me union. Even though 9/10 of the people weren't union, I'd have to become a union because I was a union. I had a union agreement.
Yeah.
You know, I didn't finish up my contract. To make a long story short, every business I want to go into, they talked me out of it. I had a lot of friends.
Didn't I read somewhere that George Raft was a friend and that he got you into a couple of movies?
Yeah, there's this picture of
That's what I thought, yeah.
Yeah, I was friendly with all the moving picture guys.
Did you really
With
make any
Cary
movies?
Grant.
Yeah.
I was in the movie, and I brought 100 people up to see him at the Paramount at that time, and and they cut it out.
Oh no.
My part was cut out.
Aw.
I'll never forget that. I brought 100 people to see the movie.
And you were the face on the cutting room floor, as they used to say. Yeah.
Oh,
But you also went into the retail business. You also went into retail.
So then someone says to me, why don't you go into retail business? I said, well, I got to do something. I'll come back, speak to my partner.
How old were you then? Because you were still young, very young.
I was 33.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I spoke to my partner. He had a lot of money because he saved every nickel. I was always a big spender. And I wanted him to hire. I had told him I'm going to go in the retail business. You want to go in with me? He says, yes, I think it's a good idea. So I said, I want you to hire this man and this man, these two guys. They know the retail business and will be successful. I talked to them, and I hired them. I'm ready to, But I said, I want you to, I'm not going to be here, so I want you to be with Silverclight. Silverclight wasn't in the day I hired him, and I had a date to go to a party in California, so I went to California. And I told Silverclight to hire these two guys, and he said, he's going to. I said, oh, well, don't hire them now. Well, I get some stores. We don't need them. So I go and I open up. I get to rent the store. Got 100% location in Los Angeles. I opened one in San Francisco. I opened one in Seattle. We had about 12 stores. Instead of him hiring these two people that I begged him to hire, he gets another retailer with 4 stores. And we do the buying from free, We give him an office free. He's merchandising our stores. We're merchandising his, so he gets free buying service and free delivery service and free everything, I boiled the hell out of my partner. He says, the guy's a successful dressman. What the hell are you worrying about? I'm responsible. Well, we either had too many dresses or too little dresses. If a woman came in for a dress, we either had more 10s and no 8s. If a woman come in for a pair of hose, we had, I want to tell you, we were loaded with hose, but we didn't have the sizes. And I was offered to sell a store. This is very interesting. Grayson's wanted to buy my stores because the locations in the stores were beautiful. They were beautiful. I did it. And I didn't pay for one. The landlord paid for it. See? It was a little after the Depression.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And the landlords paid for every store that I fixed up.
I mean, they paid to decorate and
Yeah.
all that kind of thing.
I paid for it in rent,
Yeah.
but they laid out the money. Well, we went broke.
You mean you
yeah,
lost your money?
Right?
Did you lose all
So
your money?
now I'm selling the stores to Grayson's because we're not merchandising it right. We're doing a lousy job. We're losing a lot of money. And I never believed in fortune tellers. And the guy is telling me a story that he just came from a fortune teller's guy. It's terrific. I didn't tell him I was going. I'm going to bed that night. I said, geez, I'm going to go over to see this guy in the morning. So I go over in the morning. The guy didn't speak a word of English. Jewish.
This is the one who owned the other...
No. This was a fortune teller.
Oh, okay.
A real fortune teller, you know. So I walk in there and he calls me by name. He read your mind. I don't know what it did, because I didn't tell the guy that told me that he was there that I was going to go there. You know what I mean? I didn't make no appointment. I just walked in.
And he knew your name?
He called me by my name, my Jewish name. And then I sat down and talked to him, and he says, you're thinking of selling your business. Don't sell your business. Okay. Now, he didn't know me, because the fellow that told me the story never thought that I would go to him. He was telling me over lunch that he went to a guy that was a miracle man, you know? So I went to the guy. So I didn't sell the stores, and we went broke.
Oh. Thanks to your fortune teller.
And you want me to tell you something? I came back to New York without a quarter.
Oh.
If I tell you, without a quarter.
And you went out there with $3 million?
With $3 million, and I tell you, without a quarter. Without a quarter. I had to walk from 95th Street. I rented an apartment on 94th Street, downtown. Now I get a job with a Pisca's house for $50,000 a year. The guy that I used to do business with died. I used to buy a lot of Pisca's there, and they had a lot of confidence in how I made prints, you know?
Do you remember the name of the firm?
No. They were out of business maybe 50 years, 40 years. So my brother says to me, you know, the brother that was the accountant. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. He left the city and went to be an accountant.
Lou, was that his name? Saul, excuse me.
And he had money. He saved every nickel, you know. He didn't spend a penny unless it was very necessary. And my brother Joe had the same proposition that I had with my boss. He was in the hat business, and his boss broke his leg. Had a horse and carriage at that time, and the boss got into an accident with a streetcar. You know, the streetcars used to have horses. So he pulled a Fred Pomerantz. He said, you're going to hire salesmen to go on the road. You don't know if they're going to be good or bad, and then you'll have to have, they'll take your business away after you get healthy. Why don't you let me go and make the trip? So the boss let him go and make the trip. So this is very funny, he pulled a Pomerantz. He says, let's say he went to Philadelphia, and he says, he writes himself a letter before he leaves. I don't want you to sell Gimbel Brothers. I want you to sell Strawbridge and Clothier. Confine it to Strawbridge and Clothier. Now, they sold hats with the store name in it. Their name wasn't in it at all. So he shows the letter to the buyer in Strawbridge and Clothier. I'm just mentioning the name. I don't know the name. And he says, you're not going to sell Gimbel? So the other stores? Nope. I want to show my boss that I'm good, that I can sell you. And you'll make me a happy man. So I can't talk what he said, But he sold every store in town, because when he went to Gimbel's, he showed him, don't sell strawberries, sell Gimbel's. When he went to Wanamaker's, make don't sell strawberries, don't sell Gimbel's, sell Wanamaker's. He used my gag, you know. And he became very terrific salesman. So Stetson wanted to hire him. When the boss found out that Stetson wanted to hire him, he gave him a piece of the business. You know, made him a partner.
Sure.
And he became a full-fledged partner, and he wound up owning the business. So he was a rich guy when I came back from California. So he says to me, what the hell do you want to go and work for somebody else? How much money do you need to go into business? I said, about $30,000. He said, how can you go in business with $30,000? I said, I'll tell you what. You loan me $30,000, I'll pay it back to you in 3 months.
Oh.
So 2 brothers were there. My brother Sal, who was the accountant,
Right.
and he was a public accountant. He didn't work for the Board of Health. He was making plenty of money too. So he says, all right, we'll loan you the $30,000. I said, but you can't take the money from my brother Mike. You know, the one that was my original partner.
Right, yes, in the coat business.
So, all right, we'll loan you the $30,000. So they give me a check, and I open an account, $30,000. I go into business. Now the whole market is $465 less 10,
Mm-hmm.
and my price was $475 less 8. So he had my little business that I told you about, the half-size
Right,
business.
right.
So he came down to me, he says, what are you, crazy? The whole market is selling $465 less 10. Who the hell are you that you're going to get $475 less 8? I said, look, I'm running this business, and I'm going to get $475 less 8. The people that come up to talk to you are not going to buy if I give them the $465 less 10. So I'm not interested. So, all right. Now, 3 days later, he comes up to me and says, look, I'm telling you, it should be $465 less 10. I said, what do you come to tell me I should be $465? I'm running this business. You don't have no money. And he said, yes, I have. I said, you got money in it? I said, okay. I'm closing this business up today, and I'm going to make sure that you get your $30,000 back. I called my 2 brothers up, and I said, I'm closing the business up. There may be a little loss, but I'll pay it off.
Because you didn't want Mike in there at all.
I didn't want Mike in there. So they said, no, you won't. And they give me a check. They said, now you can go and pay him off. He insisted on putting in the $10,000 when he heard. So I paid my brother Mike off, and he never came to me. I was the only firm in New York that was $475 less 8.
What was the name of this firm?
This Pommy Dress.
Pommy Dress, not Pommet. Okay, Pommy Dress.
Pommy Dress. No, Pommet.
Pommet, yes. Because I thought
Pommy Dress was the
Yeah.
half-size dress that I gave to my brother.
Right,
Pommet.
Pommet, yeah. And you got away with your $475 less 8.
Yeah. Now, we're doing very good. And I get a crazy idea that I know I can't take care of. I want to open up a firm called Leslie Fay. But I want to open up a firm that'll have fashion. The stores will have to make fashion shows. The stores will have to advertise once a year in a magazine.
Once a year.
Every store, once a year. And Glamour, Vogue, Mademoiselle, and another paper at that time, another magazine, I forget, 4 magazines.
Harper's?
No, Harper's was too high price.
Uh-huh.
and Vogue was too high price.
Yeah, right. Glamour, Mademoiselle, Charm, maybe? Charm?
Yeah, Charm.
Okay.
So I sold them, I confined it to them. And they had to have fashion shows, and then they had this and that.
And did you give them exclusivity in their cities?
Hmm?
Did you give them exclusives in their
Yeah.
cities?
Leslie Fay was a
That's what I thought.
confined line.
Yeah.
One in the city.
So, but you really did one in a city, not like your brother where you sold one by saying it was
No, we sold one in the city.
only one in
Nobody
the
else
city,
can
right?
buy.
Yeah.
Now, I didn't think I could run this business, and I had a lot of respect for a woman at the AMC. And her name was, I remember everything but names. This is a very funny thing.
Well, you remembered Mechanicsville before Mechanicsville later, you know. It came back to you.
Dorothy. Think it was Dorothy Schaefer. Give me a high Jeffrey. It wasn't that terrible. I'll tell you a funny story about it. This is the funniest story I ever heard. Dorothy Dean, the AMC, she was God at AMC. She nearly put me out of business 3 different times. But she was really God. I'm serious.
I mean, she was very good.
She was terrific. She wasn't very good. She was terrific. But I want to tell you something. We loved each other. We really loved each other. But she nearly put me out of business 3 different times.
How?
Well, I'll give you an idea. We go shopping one time. She goes shopping with me.
Wait, excuse me, was she still with AMC or was she working with you now?
No, she was with AMC. She never worked for me. We go shopping, and we pick the dresses out. And she said, "Look, Freddie, if you have make these dresses the way they are, I don't want you. I don't want to be able to come in. I don't need it."
I have several messages for
Who
you.
are they?
First, Mr. Dirkler was on, and you...
Yeah, all right. I didn't want them.
Do you want more coffee?
No, thank you. I tell you how smart I was. I left this out. Wait a minute. I had a column in Women's Wear. My picture with a crown on it. If I was king of Garment Town. And I used to tell this guy every day something, and he'd make a big story out of it. And he'd have it in the Women's Wear. One column. If I was king of Garment Town by Fred Pomerantz. With my picture.
Really?
Yeah. This is when I had this Leslie Fay. So to make a long story short, I didn't think I could handle Leslie Fay.
Well, you were telling me about Dorothy Dean.
Yeah.
You went shopping.
Yeah, we went shopping,
Yeah.
and we pick out some dresses, and she says to me, "Freddie, I want these dresses to look that I can't tell them the difference. You're going to make them so I can't tell them the difference, and I'll have every store run a double spread ad. I make the dresses, I don't figure it, I don't do anything. I don't know how much money it's going to cost me. And I make the dresses." She calls me up, and she says, I'm coming up at 11 o'clock. I'm having the lunch come up at 12 o'clock. Make sure that nobody will be in the showroom so I can bring up the whole gang. She brings up about 50 people. And we show them the line on models. Now she calls me in my office. And she says, I want them for $375. I says, Miss Dean, I'll make them for $375. I'll knock them off. But to make these at $475, I don't know how much I'm going to lose. I don't know how much I'm going to lose. But I'll make them at $375, and I'll show you I'll lose maybe a quarter a garment. They'll probably cost me $4. And I swear I'm telling you the truth. She says, no, I want the garments to there at $375. The next morning, I says, I can't make them that way. It's impossible. So she goes out and says, all right, let's go. Everybody gets up and they leave. And I'm standing there like a dope. And the next morning, I get a cancellation for 10,000 dresses. I wasn't passed through.
From AMC?
Yeah, all the stores. They all canceled. She was guarding AMC. So the orders are canceled. And I can sue them.
Yeah, I was going to say, how does she justify that?
But I didn't want to sue them because I figured I'll make up with her fast. She'll take them in. So I send over the salesman to find out why we got the cancellation. One of the salesmen waited on the AMC. So she comes back and he says, Miss Dean feels that she can never get a sale from you, off price from you. You're always $475, and she wanted these dresses. As long as she couldn't get these dresses, she didn't want to do business with you. So now I could have sued him, and I didn't sue him. Now when I didn't sell Dean, and when I didn't sell AMC, so the other stores find out right away that I'm not doing business with AMC. If I'm doing business with AMC, it was a big thing, you know, with the other offices.
Sure.
They were always respected AMC. So my business went to hell. You know? So I called up friends of mine that were general merchandise men of AMC, and I said, I want to send you 4 styles, 50 of each. If you don't reorder them, you don't pay for them. The only time you pay for them if you reorder them.
My God.
So they said, did you straighten yourself out with Miss Dean? I said, no, and I'm never going to straighten myself out with you. He says to me, well, we can't buy him. I said, look, I'm going to let the whole world know why we stopped doing business. How you respect the resource. I'm not going to put in if I was king of garment town, but I'm going to take a double spread ad and women's wear. I'm going to take a double spread ad in your paper in Detroit. This is J.L. Hudson. And he says to me, you're crazy enough to do it, you stupid bastard. He says, we don't want our consignment on the cuff. We'll give you an order number, you ship it to us. I called everybody up and I bullied every customer. I didn't want to sell it to Bloomingdale because I didn't want Miss Dean to see him. See? Now I know if I shipped them, I'll get a reorder. See? I knew I'd get reorders if I shipped them. To make the long story short, I told the boys, the salesmen, if I'm out of the show office, out of the showroom, or out of the department, I'm going to leave you know where I'm at all the time. If Dean comes in, if you're waiting on customers, tell a customer you can't wait on them. I don't want her to see the dresses. See. I'll leave you know where I'm at. So we used to eat lunch at Lindy's. I get to tell everyone is reordering the dresses. Now she wants to see them. So she comes in the store, comes in the office, and she wants to see the dresses. And they said, we can't show it to you. Mr. Pomerantz wants us to, he's the only one that can show it to you. So they call me up at Lindy's, and I come to grab a cab, and I come back, and I get a hold of her. We were on the 16th floor, 501 7th Avenue. 18th floor, 501 7th Avenue. I get Dean, and I take her this way, by the collar, by the base, and she has to walk down 18 flights.
Oh, God.
And when I get her in the street, I give her a kick in the pants. See? I give her a kick in the pants. Because if it was anybody else, they'd be out of business.
Of course.
You know? So I get about an hour later, I get a call from her boss, from the big boss, the president. She was like the executive vice president. And he says to me, I know you're too big a man to come and see me, so when can I come to see you? I said, don't big shot me. Anytime you want me to come over, I'll come over. You want me to come over now? I'll come over. So he says, yes, I want you to come over now. So I come over, and as I said about the ceilings being low, I'm telling him the story that she could have put me out of business with the cancellation, that I accepted, and she could have put me out of business without selling because the other offices don't buy because we didn't sell AMC. All of a sudden, I hear somebody crying. She's in his office. So I look inside in the cell. So I get a hold of her, put my arms around her, and I kiss her, and we make up. And I started to cry, and I make up. See? So this is the payoff of it. Now, 2 years ago, I'm in Palm Beach, and I meet her assistant that used to be one of her assistants. And she says to me, you know, Dorothy Dean lost her husband. This is only 2 years ago. The story I'm telling you is maybe 35 or 40 years ago. She says to me, Dorothy Dean lost her husband. It would be a very good idea if you called her up. So I called her up, and she says, who is this? I said, I'll tell you, I'm a guy that you loved, and I loved you. But we never went to bed together.
You told me you weren't going to tell me about your sex life.
Yeah, no.
Oh, that's
But-
cute.
Well, but we never went to bed together. She says, Freddie Pomerantz. I'm probably the only one she didn't. She was beautiful.
And apparently very, very,
And the smartest person, I offered her a 50% deal to run Leslie Fay. And she says, I can run a dress department. I can't run
yeah.
a wholesale
Right.
department. I'll never forget this. I can verify this. If you want to listen to the telephone conversation, I'll call this woman up.
Oh, I believe you. I believe you. Fantastic. But you said there were two other Dorothy Dean stories.
Hmm?
You said there were two other Dorothy Dean stories. Were they the same kind of things? Where she almost put you out of business.
Yeah. No, they were AMC, you know.
Yeah, right.
AMC
No,
and
but when
Federated.
you started to tell me about it, you said, this woman almost put me out of business
Yeah, because
3
the
times.
other offices,
Ah, I see.
they had so much respect for AMC that if you didn't sell AMC, they
Yeah,
all
no,
know about
sure.
it,
Sure,
you know?
sure. Fascinating.
You know what, I had a policy in this business that we never took a buyer to lunch, and we never did anything with a buyer. Buyer came up here and bought. I have the screwiest things about this business. When I started Leslie Fay, you had to buy 15 styles.
Mm-hmm.
And you had to buy at least 15 styles. I don't know of any customer that bought 15 styles. And I'll show you orders. Now, I got a son that's the president. And he keeps on telling me all the time that the times have changed. It's not like it used to be. Allied stores don't want to buy 15 styles. Yeah. And he's always telling me, whenever I tell him I like it, I don't want you to do it this way. He says to me, Dad, it's not like it used to be. I said, it's not like it used to be. You're liable to lose a couple of customers, but it'll be worthwhile. You know what I mean? Because if you do one thing for a customer once, you got to do it for him all the time.
You mean allowances and take the merchandise back?
Give him a present, give him an ad, do this and do that. The only time we give him an ad, you'll find the Piscas, the DuPont or Celanese or something like that.
Right.
We don't give them no ads. See? And I don't know if it's that way today. I really don't know if it's that way today.
Because today you don't really get involved in the day-to-day activities. Yeah, right. Mr. Pomerantz, let me ask you this. You had learned something from working with the government about sizing. So would you like to tell me about that? Because that's very interesting.
Well, I'm the first company in America that made petite dresses. We made petite dresses.
Starting in what year?
Right after the war. Because we did some work for the Army. And over 65% of our orders were people under 5'5" and under. Women under 5'5" and under. So they gave us the measurements, and we had to make the dresses for the measurements, you know what I mean? And making the dresses for the measurements was a petite dress. And we were the first one in the business that ever made a petite.
Did you call them petites?
Yeah. We used to advertise Leslie Fay Petite. Later on, our boys wanted to make them. I taught boys how to run. You know, I wanted someone else now to do my job. I never trusted a production man.
That's because you knew an awful lot about production.
This is very interesting.
Yeah.
Tell I definitely come in my office. Yeah. Since that time, when the dresses didn't fit, I never trusted a production man. When I say never trust, I shouldn't say never trust. They don't do it on purpose. But people don't see their own mistakes. You know what I mean? They don't see their own mistakes. They'll pass them. We got dresses in the other day. We don't ship them yet. And the seams here, excuse me, didn't fit at all. It looked terrible. Now, if it was somebody else, it would have been shipped. We found them here. And they didn't ship that lot out, and they fixed them up. You know what I mean? Now, that's what I'm trying to say. Now,
but wasn't it at that time that you bought the plant in Wilkes-Barre, Pennsylvania?
Yeah. I didn't buy it, I built it.
Oh, you built it? Ah.
Mr. Pomerantz, Mr. Durford just called you back on one.
Tell him I want him, honey. we're not allowed to ship a dress before we ship it, that it don't come to New York. To
Nope.
see if it's okay.
In other words, you're still using that plant in Wilkes-Barre. It's still there.
Oh, yeah.
And, yeah. So you built it and you trained the people, and was there a labor market out there?
You know what I did? There was no labor market, but we were right next to a high school. See, and there was a lot of we put up a factory in the high school. We didn't make garments, but we taught girls how to, it was a girls' high, and we taught girls how to sew, how to press. See, every day we had a different girl, different floor lady from another factory. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. And did you also use the miners? Did I read that somewhere?
The what?
That was
Well,
a
no.
mining town.
We used the miners' wives.
Ah, the miners' wives, okay.
See, there was a firm always jealous of me, R&K.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
We ran a big ad. I wouldn't have run the ad, but the manager ran a big ad. Your husband comes home from mine at this hour. He can take care of the children. You can come up to work for us. We'll teach you how to sew. And you know what I mean? So he saw it, and he sent the letter. He sent the ad to Dubinsky,
Ah.
and we had to stop it.
I see. But the people you were training, you were able to keep on training.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
we still train.
And that you still do a lot of production there.
You know, most of our
Yeah, the cutting and so on.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So how many people do you employ there now?
Well, I tell you, I employ an awful lot, but
Yeah.
I'll tell you something. Joanne, come here for a minute, will you?
Yes.
Tell me what you had. You got a telephone call from Wilkes-Barre about what?
No, it was
Me.
it was from our public relations company.
Who?
Our public relations company.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Listen,
What's closer?
I started the company because we had Pomerantz and Leslie Fay. Yeah. Therefore,
Yes, sir.
if we don't sell a customer, if they miss us for a season, we won't sell them for a year. Now, I don't know if they're doing that today, but that was my forte. They had to buy from us. And
So that was a policy of Leslie Fay.
policy of Leslie Fay.
That they had to buy 15 numbers, and they had to...
No, a minimum of 15.
of 15 numbers, and
But
they
I
had to
can't
buy...
find you an order. If I go over the orders, I'll make you a bet you won't find one order with anything more than 15 numbers. Have to be more.
And they could never skip a season, and they always had to run at least one ad a year, right?
I tell a story that just happened with a big store, one of our big customers. And big office, I should say, not a big customer, you know, the office. And they own all the stores. They wanted to break my policy of 15 styles. Now I hear that everybody is in this office, in Johnny's office, the president, the executive vice president, general merchandise man, the merchandise man, fashion coordinator, and everybody's in the office. And Johnny is getting weak because Johnny keeps on telling me that it's not the ready-to-wear business that you knew, you know? And that's the only thing I have fights with him every day about.
Currently, you mean?
Yeah, because I say it's the same way. But if you give a customer once one thing, they want it all the time. You know what I mean? They lose respect for you.
Right, yeah.
You get what I mean?
Sure.
So I come in there, and Johnny is weakening. He wanted to do away with the 15 styles. Now, I'll make you a bet. I'm going to call a guy in it. Hello? Tell Lenny Cohn I want to see him. Yeah.
Excuse me, the whole group of them is in there, and you're listening.
I'm listening, and I hear Johnny say, Johnny is weakening, you know? So I get up. Irving Shenendorf was there. Who's that? It's the fellow that's there for 48 years. I'm going to verify what I'm saying is the truth.
Oh, I'm sure.
Tell Jerry Zip I want to see him. And I said, I get up, and the fashion coordinator says to me, if I want to buy 3 dresses, if I only like 3 dresses on your line, I'll buy the 3 dresses, and all the stores will buy the 3 dresses. If I like 4, 8, 10, 12, they'll buy them. They'll only buy what I like. I says, why, you going to pick out the good styles? Yes. I says, why the hell do you want to work for Allied? You can work for me for $1 million a year if you can only pick out good styles. Because nobody will get stuck with our dresses, and we'll be the hottest firm in America, you know? And then I get through with that, and I said, Jerry Zip, if you break the policy that I started when we opened Leslie Fay, I'm going to fire you. Irving Shenendorf, if you break the policy, I'm going to fire you. And Johnny Pomerantz, if you break the policy, you're going to be fired too. So he gets up, and I get very angry, and I use the 4-letter word. I'm going to knock your 7 letters to this. It's an ing on the end. Head off. I sit down, and I'm ready to hit him. And I walk out, and I slam the door. And they said, you know something? He's right. He's right, Johnny. You owe your father an apology. And you fellas, you didn't say anything. You weren't fresh, so you can, but we will forget about it. And I don't mean to sell, I don't want to sell a store that's not going to do well with our merchandise. You know, I had a customer called the May Company in Los Angeles that gave me $400,000 a year, and we didn't get a reorder for a year. I made a special trip out to see them, and I said, we didn't get a reorder. I don't want to sell that department. Put me in another department. I said, I remember the last time I was here, you have a small department. Instead of doing $400,000 at wholesale here, I may do $25,000 to $35,000 at wholesale here. Here's where I want to be. He says, you can't be there. I said, well, don't buy from us. I called up. I said, if you got any orders going to May Company, cancel them. Because I tell you why I say that. When May Company comes to New York and he sees a buyer, and he says, geez, I'm not reordering anything, he's hurting me. You know, so I'll never forget this as long as I live. Now I'm going home on the plane, and I said, geez, maybe I'm getting too old. Maybe I shouldn't close these accounts, because maybe they're going to tell me to go to hell, and I won't have them. You know? Let me. Was I so long to? Now, if I know a style is good, bad, you know, when I used to wait on a customer, I used to show them the dress. If they bought it, they bought it. Now, sometimes I would say, everybody is buying this dress. I don't know if it's good or not, but they're buying it. Because when you bought the dress, I'm not responsible. But if you didn't buy a dress that's reordering, I'd call up and make you buy 150 of it. You know what I mean? If it's reordering it. And you sell it. Because when a number is good, it's sold all over the country.
Sure. That's it. Now, I'll tell you, what I would also on Thursday, November 5th, a second interview with Fred Pomerantz, founder of Leslie Fay Incorporated. Now, what I'd like to talk about today is something about what happened when you went public and how you feel about that. How did it affect the business? How did it change the business? You know, just anything that you have to say about it. Yeah, my question was, when was it really born? One article said 1959, and the other said 1962. When it went public, it was doing 16 million. So.
We went public in 1962. Let me make sure.
Okay.
September 62.
In September of 62, you went public. And that was over the counter.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. And at that time, you were doing about 16 million, according to my records, okay? So, could you just talk to me about what happened from that point on? How did that change your business? Did it change the way you did business?
How to change my business.
The way you ran your business, did it affect you in some way?
The only thing that had affected me, I ran a one-man business before, and when I went public, I decided that I can't run a one-man business and be on the stock exchange. So I started to build people up and build the organization. In other words, I'll give you an idea. We had one production man. So I called him into my office and I said, I want to have I want you to have 2 assistants. And assistants to be as good as you are. And I said, the trouble with you, you're insecure. So I'll give you a lifetime contract. If you get 2 men that are as good as you, then I'll okay that it's as good as you. Because I've been born a production man, you know. See? And I taught this production man everything he knew. I made him good. I said, I'm giving you 4 weeks. If you want this contract for a lifetime contract.
4 weeks to get the 2 assistants.
4 weeks to get the 2 assistants. So he says to me, okay, it's a deal. Well, 6 weeks went by and he didn't have anybody. So I called him back into my office and I says, your contract is void. I'm not giving you that contract. But if you don't get anybody in that I'm satisfied with, I'm going to fire you. Because I told you that I got to have people that in case you get sick, that I don't want to start being a production man again. I want someone else to be your job. And I want you to be able to go to the factories and go around and look at things like I do. Well, then he got people in, and funny thing happened. 3 weeks later, he has a heart attack.
Oh my God.
But he was all right after a short heart attack.
Came back.
Yeah. And
So it was as though you really had,
that's
before
what
you
I
saw, you
did.
foresaw.
In other words, I start building people up, and I start hiring people. Like I had a president. I made a man a president.
What was his name?
Buckwalter.
Yeah, Zachary.
And I let him be president. And he died. But I think it was a lucky thing he died, because he lied to me and was hiding a lot of things. You know what I mean? We had an awful lot of inventory that I didn't need. And my controller, if he told me, he'd be fired.
Now, he died in 1972, right?
About that.
About that. And at that point, Johnny became the president,
Yeah.
and you were the chairman, right?
I think he died before 72.
My notes, well, my notes could be wrong. My notes say
Can I
that.
make sure?
Yeah, please.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just 1 second. This December will be 10 years.
Yeah. So in other words, in 1962 you went public, okay? Johnny became president of Joan Leslie, and at that time he was very young, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So he became president of one division. Do you know how many divisions you had at that
No,
point?
he worked at the factory for about 3 years. And this is very interesting. He worked at the factory for 3 years. I'm leaving here about 7 o'clock at night, leaving the office at 7 o'clock at night, and I meet him downstairs. He was coming in to see me. And he says, I'd like to see you. So I said, okay, come to my club and we'll have lunch. I took him to the club and I had lunch. And he started asking me questions. What's your percentage of returns? And he started asking me...
This is your son?
Yeah. He started asking me so many questions. This is after he was out of college about 3 years. He graduated at Wharton School of Business. And he started asking me questions that I didn't know how to answer. You know? I admit that I was an illiterate guy. And he started asking me these questions. I said, you know, Johnny, I'm very happy you're asking me these questions because I can't answer them. How about me making you president? And I'll go back to the business that I know. And I'll be in charge of our production and things like that. He says, no, it's not fair you're making me president. Because I think that Buckholder, who I've worked with at the factory, and you got people that are here ahead of me just because I'm your son, I don't think I belong, get ahead of these people until I qualify. I'll never forget that. Then we opened up a division called Madeline Ford. She was a very good designer. And I put him in charge of that company.
What was the name of the company? Do you remember?
Madeline
It
Ford.
was called Madeline Foth. She was the first wife of Morgan Foth. Is that
Who?
Morgan Foth was.
Yeah.
She was his wife, right?
Yeah.
First wife.
And she was a very good designer. Can I tell you a story about her?
Sure.
We hired her, and we had a lot of problem using her name because the line used to be confined to Saks Fifth Avenue, all the Saks Fifth Avenue cities. And Saks Fifth Avenue wanted us to confine the line in their cities. And I said, no, we cannot confine the line to you. We do not believe in confinement. So I get a summons from Saks Fifth Avenue and a summons from our old boss that I can't use the name Madeline Ford. See? Well, my lawyers proved to their lawyers that you can't stop anybody from using their name, that is on the records, using their name to earn bread, you know. So they withdrew their lawsuit, and Saks Fifth Avenue started to buy from us, even though we didn't confine. And this is very, very interesting. we used to be a confined, when we started Leslie Fay,
Mm-hmm.
it was confined to one store in the city.
Yes, I remember that.
And it was very good. We were doing business very well. But some stores that we had confined with, like one certain store, we did $300,000 with at that time. And then the next year we did 220. And the next year we did 150. I wouldn't have never have known that we were going down. Now this store wanted to build us a department, and they were so proud to have Leslie Fay. And the general merchandise man happened to be a very good friend of mine. So, and he was a college graduate. And he also owned Palmet.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So the man that was running Palmet says, "Look, we got a customer that wants to speak to you. Turn it down, but at least you can do is see her and speak to her." So at that time, we didn't have no IBM cards. We had regular, bookkeeping records, sheets, So I figured I'll show her the sheet of how much business we're doing with the account, and we promise the account that if they continue going up like they have been going up, that we'll never give it to anybody else. So I can't, it's just, so I asked, this is before I spoke to her, and she says to me, then I asked my bookkeeper to give me a record of what we were doing with this account with Joseph Horn of Pittsburgh. It was an AMC account at that time, and all the AMC stores were confined. They were supposed to be the biggest stores in every big city. So she shows me how we've been going down. Even though our business was increasing, see, I didn't pay attention to individual accounts because our business was increasing every year. When I saw this, I couldn't show her the card. I couldn't show her the ledger sheet. That's what they called it. So I had to talk something else. So she came in to see me, and she says to me, "My boss sent me up. He wants to have Leslie Fay in the store. We'll open up every season with a big double spread ad. And every week for 52 weeks, you'll always have a full-page ad every Sunday." So I said, "Do you have the authority to do it?" She says, "No, but my boss was." I said, "Well, I send your boss down to see me." So she calls her boss up on the telephone, and he makes a date with me to come in to see me the next day. And he brings down like a contract. It must have been written by a lawyer, giving me all that anytime he doesn't run an ad on us 1 week, that I can just give him air, stop selling him or continue if I want to.
Right.
In my opinion. And when Joseph Horn, I made the deal with him, see, we signed the contract. Joseph Horn, I didn't speak to Joseph Horn at all because I was furious at him. Because he was supposed to be, he made the biggest thing out of Leslie Fay, and here he's going way down in business with it. So at 7 o'clock in the morning, I get a telephone call from Joseph Horn home. his wife and my wife were very friendly. In fact, he was making my wife, she was going to convert to be a Catholic. She was that good. They were very friendly. I get a call from him. He says, how can you do this without notifying me, without speaking to me? I says, if I spoke to you, you'd have talked me out of it. And I didn't want to be talked out of it. Because if you can, with the big thing that you made out of Leslie Fay, and you made me feel like I was God when I was in your store, what you wanted to do, and I said, I just want to be where the traffic is. I didn't want no private room, you know? And here you've gone down, every season you're going down. So he gets steamed at me and he hangs up on me. The next morning at 7 o'clock, I come into the coffee shop and he's there with his buyer. So he comes up to see us. And he wants to put it in writing, like the other fellow did. And he wants to double the figures. The other man didn't have no figures, but he wanted to double his figures. He wanted to start with over $500,000 a year. See? And I says, I can't do it. I signed the contract. So he says, okay, we did this much, next year we'll do half, next year we'll do half, and the next year we'll do nothing. I says, as long as I don't lose our friendship, I can't dictate to you and tell you what to give me. But as when I was confining the line to you, I didn't think you did right by me. Because I was an illiterate and I didn't know how to do it. So he walks out and says, I says, well, as long as we don't lose our friendship. He says, you lost our friendship. I said, okay, if that's what you want. And I wasn't a gentleman. I used the 4-letter word to him. And with you in the end. And I walked away. Well, the funniest thing was that when this store ran the ad, she had the styles in our store. And people knew that we had the style, that we were Leslie Fay and Joseph Horn. Well, we did over $500,000 with them that year. And we did $500,000 with the other store that advertised. So, from a firm that was doing $350,000, we did $1 million.
Fantastic.
Then Kaufman's came in.
What year was this, Bob?
This was right before we went public in Lobby.
Mm-hmm.
And Kaufman's came in, and they gave us $50,000 a year, or $500,000 a year. So we did $1.5 million in that,
In Pittsburgh.
in the 3 stores.
Well, now, after you went public, you were starting to say you really began to build up your management team because you obviously were planning to grow, right?
Well,
I mean, you were 16 million when you went public, but you got to be 100 million.
Yeah, well, at that time, we built a mill. Right when we went public, we built a mill.
Mm-hmm.
And that mill was a gold mine, and it was a big thing for us.
That was for knitting?
Huh?
For knitting?
Mill, yeah.
And you began to add more divisions, too.
Yeah.
So that was really why you needed that bigger management team. Now, you were saying that Zachary Buckhalter died. It'll be 10 years
10
at the
years.
end of this year. So when Zachary Buckhalter died, is that when John became the president?
Yeah.
That's when John became the president and you were the chairman.
And it was a funny thing that when Johnny became president, we were making a deal with an insurance company to borrow, I don't know the exact amount, excuse me, 15 million or 20 million. And Zach Buckholder was a very good had a very good mouthpiece. You know, he knew how to talk to people. I'll admit to that.
Excuse me, Mr. Bader's here with someone.
Yeah, okay, fine.
Well, what I mean by a good mouthpiece, when he spoke to people, they believed him. You know what I mean? If he went to Wall Street and spoke to the analysts, they all had, so I don't know what it was, but he was a good speaker and they had respect for him. See, I had no education, so I couldn't speak to these people. When I spoke to them, I did a pretty good job.
I'll bet you did. I'll bet
But,
you did.
but I was always embarrassed. They applauded me. But I always felt that you know, that I wanted somebody to be a president. I didn't know, I wanted my son John to be a president. And he insisted that I put Zach Buckholder, because he worked with Zach Buckholder for 3 years in the factory, you know? So it was Johnny's fault. Johnny said I shouldn't go above him, you know? And then when Buckholder died, I put Johnny in there. Oh, I started telling you that we borrowed, I don't remember the exact amount, 20 million or 25 million from the insurance company. And as I said, that Buckholder sold the bill. Well, when Buckholder died, they wanted to renege.
They wanted to renege on the loan?
They didn't want and the person I had that making the deal, I says, I'll tell you what I'll do with you. I says, I'll give you all my stock that I have. If he don't do better than Buckholder, you can keep the stock. And I had a lot of stock. And it was selling for $15 or $16 a share. I was giving him $25 million worth of stock, that if he didn't do a better job than Buckholder, because I tried to fire Buckholder 3 times, and my accountant and my lawyer talked me out of it, because he really had a terrific personality and mouthpiece. You know?
Yeah. But after when he died, that's when John became president and resumed being the chairman.
Yeah.
And you devoted yourself to administration.
Well, I was chairman all along.
I see. So John was just the president of one division until Buckholder died.
Yeah.
And then he became the president of the whole corporation.
That's right.
Yeah. And so how did you divide up, you were the administration person? And how did you divide up your jobs between you and John?
Well, I was the chief executive officer.
I see, okay. He was the chief operating officer.
Yeah.
Right, yeah. So, but when it came to making decisions about whether you acquired a business or built one up yourself, or whether you hired top management or promoted...
Well, as I said, I didn't want to have a one-man business.
Yeah, right.
So we spoke about it, and we let a lot of people, we didn't hire a lot of people because he either didn't like him or I didn't like him. You know, I didn't think it was capable, not like. I shouldn't use the word like. But he didn't think it was capable, or I didn't think it was capable, and we got along.
So you really worked as a team on the things.
Yeah, as a team.
Yeah, right. Yeah. How did you happen to have so many? You have so many divisions today. I was just reading the list of them in that newest report. Before you acquired Head Ski, you already had Sasson Suits, Face Closet, Outlander, Joan Leslie, Castleberry Knits, JL Sport, Victoire, Breckenridge, Leslie Fay, Personal, Breckenridge Petite, CB2. What's CB2?
Well, you see, these are all smaller companies
That are part of the.
that are part of Breckenridge. Like we had Breckenridge, and we had another department in Breckenridge.
Called Petites.
Yeah,
Right.
and CB2 is just a new division that Castleberry
Okay.
built.
And Nativo, is that separate?
Nativo is, yes.
And
Nat-
Leslie Palmer was the women's.
Leslie Palmer is a woman's dress.
And Ella Petite is
Ella
Leslie.
Petite is for Leslie Fay, petite dresses for women under 5'5".
And then Personal Petites and Personal 2 are both offshoots
It's
of
the same,
Personal.
yeah, it's the same as
Right.
Personal.
And now you're acquiring Head, or have you've really acquired it?
Well, yes, I think we're signed up.
Congratulations, it's a
you.
good company. Very good. Is Alex Schuster still there?
Hmm?
Is
I
Alex?
don't know who's there.
He was the president of
I'm
the.
not having anything to do with it.
I see.
I don't know if you know, we sold our company. We're selling our company.
Wait, yeah, that's what I'd
Yes,
like
you
to
know
clarify.
that.
You're going private,
Yeah.
but you've taken in a couple of private
I'm
investors.
selling my stock.
You are.
Yeah.
To your private investors?
Yes. No, to the company.
To the company.
To the company.
Okay.
And they're buying the whole company. Johnny is one, and then there's 3 other men. It's going to be 4 partners.
Uh-huh.
But Johnny is in complete charge
I see.
of the company.
And that's happening right now.
Yeah, it didn't happen yet because we got to get permission from the FEC,
Yeah, right.
and from this, we got to have a stockholders meeting,
Sure.
and everybody's got to agree to it.
Right, yeah. That's very interesting, though. You're the first company in this market which has done that, to my knowledge. I mean,
Yeah.
you were one of the first to go public, right? And now you are the first that I know of to go into a different formation. So it's very interesting that I should happen accidentally to interview you at this time. It's really very interesting. Because you started a whole era, and now you're ushering in another era, all in one lifetime. That's quite an achievement.
And I think that this company is going to be very, very big.
It's not small right now.
Hmm?
It's not what you call small.
No, but I think in 2 or 3 years, it'll be much bigger.
Really? Let me see.
Because all these small companies are growing up. Like you take Face Closet.
Yeah.
We had bad management, and now we got good management, and it's got to go up.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's hard to get management. That's the trouble.
And you prefer people who've been trained within the organization?
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah. Because then they know what your methods are, and they know how you feel about production and quality control.
I think our quality control is the best in America.
And so you really like to have people who have been exposed to that.
Yeah. I'll tell you something. If you come down here in the morning, we get dresses from Pennsylvania. Before we ship it, when the style comes in from the factory, everyone goes on a girl.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody's allowed to look at those dresses in our receiving department. They're supposed to look at it in the factory. Our quality men go to the factory, you know? Now, if they come in, we don't trust anybody, the quality man or the production man or anybody. I have 2 other people looking at the dresses when they come in from the factory before they're shipped. And you see, people don't see their own mistakes. you know.
Yes, you have
And
to
I
be
learned
objective.
I learned that a long time ago. And I'm teaching that to every one of our companies. That you can't trust any production man. It's not trusting him. I shouldn't use the word trusting him. But he doesn't see his own mistake. You know what I mean? That 6 eyes are better than 2.
Right.
And we don't offend him that he's a lousy production man. But maybe the factory did it wrong, or maybe his face pattern was wrong. And we don't ship it. Unless we can fix it, and if we can't fix it, we sell it off price. We don't ship it to customers.
And you're hoping that that's a tradition that will continue even when there's the changeover in this business.
Oh yes, it's got to be that way.
Tell me something. What are you going to do when this business has been changed or restructured or whatever you want to call it? I guess I'm really asking it for myself. I'm not going to put it on this tape. I'm just.
If we don't sell a department store, I'm talking about Leslie Fay now. I'll make you a bet. I don't care what store you go to. If they don't do business with us, they'll say, do you know the Pomerantzes? Can you fix it up for us to do business?
I'll bet.
Now that's the gospel truth. And I'll say that we're not loved, we're respected.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think that's a pretty good thing. I mean, you don't have to have the love of everybody, but when you have the respect of everybody, then you're really in a very special kind of situation. And I think that it's just terrific. I really do. I think I'm going to say that I thank you, and I'm sure there's a lot more that I wish I knew, but I think I've asked you what I'd like to.
Well, whenever you want
history.
anything else,
Right.
you can see me.
Well, thank you.